Hello, assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And you can imagine how my day is today because I have already talked about it, in my my last podcast that I uploaded at around almost 2 a.m. in the morning. And, there's always this day. As I said, I always dread the day when I have to deal with Sky Electric. Because this is what happens today. Actually, I had to deal with two because we have two solar systems thanks to my dad, you know, and I had to deal with both because both the systems, one of them was the Sky Electric one, was as usual, as prone to its existence. It was showing an error and a glitch which we couldn't figure out if it was software or actually hardware, if it was physically a problem, because it kept showing on the app that there was a PV strand. Sorry, this is how far gone my mind is right now. There was a PV string that had dropped. Okay, so two PV strings are supposed to be working perfectly. One of them had dropped. And they thought that maybe it was a software glitch or something, and they tried remotely, according to them, to fix the issue, but it wouldn't budge. The warning just wouldn't go away. So they decided to send the engineer today, as you know. And so at my request, he came really early because I thought, okay, the earlier he'll come, the earlier he'll leave, which obviously we all of us know now, that will never happen. And it didn't happen. So, and I would actually get some sleep, which, as you can see, also didn't happen. So here we are. We don't know what caused that string to drop. There was no physical damage. There was nothing up on the roof. There was nothing down in the system, nothing. And then, tinkering here and there, trying to figure out what was wrong. All he did was just tightened up a nut in one of the breakers, and suddenly the glitch was gone. And we were both looking at each other and saying, okay, we don't even know what happened here because we don't know what actually caused it. Was it a glitch, or was it a physical thing, or what? Just tightening an already tightened up nut of a breaker is supposed to just fix that? So we're like, okay. And then another thing occurred. First of all, the warning kept on coming. It kept on showing that there was a PV string that had dropped. And then it showed grid outage, despite the fact that we had grid. That was another thing and I'm like, see, it's now almost 2 years since this app has been giving conflicting data simultaneously. Seriously. On the top, you're seeing the buying and the selling and the grid on and everything, and down you're seeing the notes at the bottom. They're giving you warning. PV spring. PV string has dropped, and the second warning, grid outage. Seriously? Okay, so we're like, discard the damn app right now because I proved my point that I've been making for the past 2 years that it isn't working properly and it's not reliable. And he agreed with me, saying that actually most of the customers have the same issue with it, that they find it unreliable, and it's also not user-friendly, to be honest. Okay, so then we looked at the tablet, which is supposed to have the actual status of what's going on. And then we suddenly noticed, after about an hour, that, when the other electrician then came to fix the other solar system, because that had shut down. That basically shut down because, thanks to Lesco, there was a missing neutral, and there was some sort of a looping going on due to high voltage. So he checked all the phases, because that's what we do, as you know, because the past few days we have seen only one phase troubling us. So he checked all the phases, and he's like, okay, all three are showing 240 to 245. But by that time, that just shows you how slow or how inaccurate the system's own readings were, because at that point, the Sky Electric engineer was calm and composed, saying, oh, over here it's normal, this phase is still normal. And then suddenly it spiked, and he's like, then he asked, because that is the reason why I wanted them both to be together and work together, so that they should know what exactly is going on. So then he asked the other one, he's like, did you by any chance just change the phase? And he's like, no, I actually left it because all three phases are showing high voltage. So I just left it in its own, but I had to figure out how to, you know, work with the missing neutral and everything, and how to, reset everything so that it should maintain a stability. But I didn't change the phase because all three phases are right now high. And he was like, the Sky Electric engineer was totally confused because he was like, but just let's just until a minute ago it showed normal. And the other one's like, nope, no, I just checked it outside. I'm just, outside. I checked the wires coming from the grid, and all three phases are high. And so, the reading kept showing higher and higher and higher. And then every time we reset and reboot, and the people at the NOC services at the back end, they were also resetting and rebooting and then reconfiguring as much as they could. But the voltage is stable. The actual voltage, even though it's high, it's actually stable, and it is at 240 to 245. And the reading on the system itself, we're not talking about the app, the reading on the system of the inverter itself was showing that the grid input was 251. Now, normally it's supposed to show you 4 digits higher than the actual input. So if it showed about 250, 248, that was normal. It was showing 248, 247 for some time. No, sorry, what am I saying? If it showed about 245 or to 248, that would have been okay. And for some time, it was showing 245 to 248. And then suddenly it started showing 248, 250, 251, 248, 247, 250, 251. And it kept on doing that. And I was like, you know what? I think that because you increased its capacity to accept and be compatible with up to 260 volts. So what it's showing you right now is the maximum capacity, which means that there is a glitch in the sense that, what happens is that, for example, you're tuning something, right? Imagine, because even though this is a software, but it's essentially the same theory, right? When in a software, you're increasing the capacity, for example, in this case, you're increasing the capacity of the system to accept a higher voltage and maintain itself, maintain its stability at that high point. So before they had increased already last year, sometime around last year or a year and a half ago, they had increased its capacity to 250, I think, or 255. So this time he increased it, I think, to 260 or I think he just reaffirmed that its capacity should be at 255. I don't know. But I think it was 260. He's increased it more to 260. So I'm thinking that it's basically showing its highest capacity. It's the reading that it's showing. It's just its highest capacity. So that is a glitch there. It's not showing its actual reading because the actual reading should be 240. Yes, because it actually dropped, that phase dropped from 245 to 240, and it was stable at 240. From all the other parameters that we were checking. And we were doing the physical voltage check on the cables, at both ends. And they were showing 240, and they were stable at 240. But the reading kept going up to 251. So it should show, as I said, at least 4 digits higher, and that's okay. But it was showing basically almost 10 digits higher. So that was concerning. And as you know, when softwares have glitches, then they can lead, if you cannot find the source and if you cannot fix it, they can lead to physical damage. Yes. And how many times have we gone through all of that kind of a shenanigan in the past 6 years? Many times with Sky Electric system. Many times. Go through my previous podcasts. Many times. And as the other electrician said, this is a problem that would occur when you have a system that is doing so much, There's so much data input and output, and there's so much going on, and because it's an AI to boot, so it's always reconfiguring and it's constantly doing something even in the background. And he's right. Yes, there are too many functions going on. So yes, he is right. But the problem is that, as I said, the least they could have done is to work out that this, it's been 6 years, as I said, it's been 6 years when they've noticed that their system tends to every now and then, all of a sudden, just come up with this unknown, unsourced error. You just can't find the source of the error. You don't know what it's going to lead to. You don't know what's going on. You can't find anything physical. You can't find anything, even on the spot, software wise, and you just don't know what's going on. That always leads to something really big. And I am now just praying that they just manage to find out what it is and curb it before it leads to something, because I am already sick and tired. It's hardly been a month and a half since I just faced the last big disaster, which was actually caused by Lesco, thank you very much, with all the arcing and everything, and it basically burst or blew up the breaker of the inverter system, which caused the inverter to stop working properly, if you remember. And so they had to come, and even then, the first time around, they couldn't figure out what was going on, even though I told them that I suspect the breaker, and it was the breaker at the end, because you could kind of see it burnt on the side, to be honest. Well, anyway, so that was done. So now it's literally been just a little over a month and a half, and now again another issue, and I am just tired. And I'm like, yeah, the least you people can do is to zero in on the high maintenance of your software. Try to tone down the maintenance issues and the software issues of your system, and upgrade your system, solidify it, secure it, because we're old customers. We have old systems. You should have worked on solidifying and securing the system of your old customers first before moving on to newer systems with new customers. This is something I've gone on and on about for at least the past 2 years. And here we are, So this is why I always dread this day. It took 4 hours. The poor guy came early in the morning. I requested that he comes early in the morning so that we can get this done. The other guy was done in less than an hour, and he did 2 to 3 different things while he was at it. He not only checked the voltage, he also reconnected the inverter that had basically disconnected. It cut off. It cut off. The connection cut off because of the the higher voltage and the missing and all that. So he figured that out. He fixed that all in less than 10 minutes, because that's how simple the other system is. It's a grow-watt inverter, and it's not even a hybrid, actually. It's a straight on grid, and it has no fangles and no frills and nothing. It's just your straightforward. And these systems are always the best, as you know, even if they're in hybrid form, they are the best, because it's a very straightforward thing. It comes, the inverter does its job, it goes. It's nothing happens. So mashallah, such systems, which are the simplest systems, are the kind I like. I don't like these fangled up smart systems. If you've heard some of my previous years old podcasts on smart cars and how smart is the new stupid, you would know what I think about smart gadgets. I think they're stupid, okay? Because number one, if you get dependent on them, they will always break down on you. Number two, why would anybody want somebody to remotely access his pacer, his heart's pacer? Like, are you serious? Number three, a smart car, if it breaks down, you can do jack shit with it, unlike a regular car, not even a hybrid car, a regular old school car, a mechanical car. You can literally poke into the engine, you can poke into the bonnet, try to figure out what's going on. Every part is there for you to see. You know what's going on, unlike electric cars and these newfangled smart cars, right? Not a fan in the long run, as I'm saying. Although I love the whole concept, and I'm theoretically I'm all for it. Practically, I'm not for it. No. I am actually a hybrid car kind of a person, theoretically speaking, but if I think about all the practicalities of it, about when it comes to fixing the car if it stops, or when it comes to maintenance, or when it comes to anything, yeah, they're more and more expensive, and you're more and more dependent on others to fix this shit, whereas before things were made so that you could fix them yourselves. Remember, before even laptops were made, where you could remove and reattach a new battery. safely without opening up the whole thing. Everything was sectioned and separately screwed into place. They were not soldered in like how they're maniacally doing it in the new laptops, so that you at the end you're producing more e-waste. So you see, before, laptops were actually made with more responsibility as opposed to today, where there is no responsibility. Same thing with mobiles. They were actually made with more responsibility before as opposed to now. Now they're made in a way where you're forced to trash them. You are forced to trash them after some time. Nothing can be done with them. You cannot upgrade your gadgets. Before, the whole beauty, the whole fun of having these gadgets was you could upgrade them with time. So you understand, right? I think anybody and everybody who's actually laid their hands on gadgets know what I'm talking about. So the fun of having those gadgets where you could just swap the batteries, swap the God, what am I saying? Swap the hard disk, insert a new SSD, add double disks, add an extra ROM even for extra storage. I mean, there's so many things you could do, in a mobile, change the batteries, get new batteries if they're dead, and this and that, and now what are we left with? E-waste. Total complete e-waste. So yeah, I'm not a fan of these AI generated stuff and all, because AI, first of all, as you can see, is not even completely accurate. And when you have softwares, I think when it comes to dealing with electricity, especially, again, when it comes to things like electricity, we're already dealing with the biggest dipshit of all dipshits, and that's Lesco. That's Vabda to you, right? When you're already dealing with such a-holes who cannot even maintain a normal current flow or a normal voltage, a proper voltage, where it's always either too high or too low, and they're always running away with things and they're never stable, or even if they are stable, you just don't know where you're at. So when you're already dealing with such things, when you go for solar, you would want a little more security, right? So even if it's a hybrid system, for example, or if it's an off-grid system, or even it's an on-grid, well, forget on-grid, because on-grid is literally grid-tied. So when you have an off-grid system or a hybrid system, basically the whole point is to secure yourself, right? And also to be a little more independent, not to depend, again, you see, not to depend on another organization to help give you power, but to be able to sustain yourself. That was the whole point. Free electricity and to be able to sustain yourself. So here you have now solar systems, and if you have these solar systems that are integrated with AI systems, that means essentially you've put a computer in. Where there's a computer in, where there's a smart gadget in, you're effed, in my opinion. And I have 6 years to prove my point here. I have 6 years. If this was just a very simple hybrid system, no frills and fangles, no bells and whistles, nothing, I wouldn't be going through all of this. You understand? The whole high maintenance issues is because of the software. It's not just the batteries, because you can literally go without, even giving too much of a maintenance thing with the batteries. No, hook up cables to the batteries, you're done. That's not the problem is mainly with the software that is now integrated, because that will give you another read. You don't know what's accurate, you don't know what's live, you don't know what the status is, like how right now you don't know what's going on. So these things can then add up, and then they can create a new actual physical problem in the system, which, as I said, I have 6 years to prove. So yeah. And then, but then another headache just came up, is because, as I said, the other electrician who did the whole, the grid-tied electrician, he's not just a solar electrician, he is actually our regular electrician as well. So they've always dealt with our electricity problems and issues, and they installed our second solar system, which is on-grid, right? And here's the thing, okay, I know you're probably not, people who will know, they know. This saying where people always say, kids, they can always fulfill all their desires and temptations and wishes because they know that their parents are there to pick it all up, Yeah. Here it's opposite. Here it's my family members who are always giving in to all their wishes and their temptations and all, and I am the one left to take care of the shit. Seriously. To me, this is the shit, you know? To me, I like life simple, okay? And that's, hear me out, okay? To me, it's, I think so long term, I literally think beyond my grave. That is how long term I think. To me, short term is thinking 10 years, 20 years. That is short term. That is standard term, actually. To me, that is standard term thinking ability. Long term to me is after death. Okay? And whenever I try to do something, or whenever I'm about to undertake something, I always think of all the pros and the cons, and then I especially think about it long term. So normally, I have been fiddling with the idea of solar, to be honest, for more than 25 years, for almost 25 years actually. Yes, I have fiddled with the solar system idea for a very long time. Okay? I've always wondered, what is it that people are still not getting their heads wrapped around, that they haven't done something about it? Because it's an old technology again. Wind, water, solar, these three natural power sources or power resources have been there in science and technology for the longest of time. Governments with political agendas never allowed them to come forward because, hello, people having free energy, free power, free electricity, how are we going to exploit them? You know. So here we are, because you could make cars that actually ran on water or, you know, on solar. It was a very old technology, you know. So yeah, as you know, some were killed, some were just censored. We know the story. If you don't, please read history. So here we are today, when now it's the people are ready, you know, now governments are ready, and they're thinking, oh, because now we can actually exploit the sun, we can have something in it, you know, there is something in it for us to monopolize, so yeah, let's just go with it. Water? Oh yeah, Israel, Nestle, we're exploiting water already. We're stealing water from Pakistan. We're stealing water from the Amazonian rivers. We've dried the wells in Pakistan of drinking water. We're drying the rivers in the Amazon and the Amazon region. So yeah, heck yeah, we know how to control water too. So we can own water too. Wind, now, that is a bit tricky. We still cannot exactly control wind. Let's put that on the sideline for now. China is already thinking, oh, I've even got a master plan of how to make an artificial sun and then have full control over solar. How nice for you, seriously. This is what the human mind is always up to. And then you wonder why, as a civilization, we are effed. Well, anyway, so here we are. So the other electrician, as I said, our own house electrician, who we normally hire for all the stuff, and who installed the other solar system, he was like, you know, he finished his work, and there was one or two other works. He finished them all in less than an hour, and he was ready to go, right? But guess what? This is something that I've noticed in Pakistan. You know, they always do it. Carpenters, plumbers, electricians, always, without fail, they will always put one screw less. Have you noticed? When you have people setting up the curtain railings for you, notice how in every single holder, one screw is missing. When they set up the hood for you, one screw is missing. When they set up the light scones for you, one screw is missing. When they set up literally anything, there's always one screw missing. I don't know why. I don't know what's the thing that they always have to have one screw less, you know? And if it's then the next time somebody else would come and another screw would go missing. They always have to put one screw less than the existing number of screws that they have in front of them. I don't know why. And he did the same thing. When he put the DP back, the cover, when he put the DP, the display box cover or the fuse box cover back on, he had all three screws in his hand. And yet he'd put only two screws in. And I thought he had put the third one in. We all thought he had put the third one in until he left. And way after that, I saw a screw on the ground, and I asked the Sky Electric engineer, is this yours? And he's like, no, I didn't drop anything. And then we suddenly, both of us, we thought, the DP, there's a screw missing probably. We opened it, the screw was missing, but this wasn't it. So I called him and I said, you know what? You didn't put the third screw in. We already are one screw missing. We have three screws. You took even that away, you know. And so the poor guy, he actually came just half an hour ago. He finally came back, and he couldn't find the screw that he had kept with him. So he got two screws of a different variety and put them in. And he's like, he completed all four screws basically. So yeah, he still couldn't find the screw that he took. But I mean, seriously, seriously, this is the first time ever actually that an electrician came back after I called him back and put the screws back in, even if they're not the same screws, but he completed my screw set. Otherwise, over the years, not a single one of them ever put back the screw. Yeah, they always seem to have conveniently lost it. He also lost the screw, but at least he put back two screws. But I mean, yeah, save a very few electricians who you tell, okay, can you please just complete the whole screw set, Yeah, not a single one of them really, save those rare few, would ever screw all the screws. Never. If there are only two screws required, only one screw is put in. Can you imagine? Imagine your switch board, your switch, your socket where you have your light switch and your fans and everything, fan switch and everything, and it requires two screws on either end, and they put only one screw and they go like, are you serious? Are you out of your freaking mind? The board can literally come off. I mean, it's like literally soon you'll have it hanging by the thread, really. Yeah. So yeah, I like things to be simple, okay? I like life to be simple. I do not like unnecessary stresses. I do not like unnecessary tensions. There are already more than enough of those in our regular lives as it is. Why pile them on? So I believe that people should do whatever it is that they want to do. It's their life, it's their money, it's their homes. Do whatever they want to do. But again, then at their own expense. At their own expense means whatever happens, whatever the aftermath, whatever the consequences, they need to take care of it themselves. But this is a desi thing, this is a subcontinental thing where people will always think that it is their right to automatically put their burdens on their family members. You see a girl getting married, and then she decides to produce children. Then she decides she doesn't want to be married anymore for some awkward, whatever, irrevocable reasons, whatever. They decide to, break up, have a divorce. And then where does she automatically think that she has every right to now impose on everybody else, her family? Now suddenly, look at the parents. It wasn't enough that the parents have to take care of they're like, oh, why are we stuck here? No. Let's fuck every other child's life in the process. And then they start calling all their children. You better come back. You better come back. As a family, we need to stick together. Okay? These are times when we need the whole family together. I don't remember anybody talking about family when your children were out there struggling on their own, or when they were doing their own shit themselves and taking responsibility for even shit you put them through. That time there was no tune, no song about how we're all a family and we need to get together. But no, now you're calling all your kids, those who are abroad, those who are especially single, especially the kids who are single now. They're adults, they're single, they have their own lives. How dare they? How dare they have their own lives? How dare they establish themselves while remaining single? No. They have nothing to do in life because they're single, they have no liabilities, they have no responsibilities. Just drag them into the sand pit with us. And this is the subcontinental culture, by the way, without fail. It doesn't matter if you're in India, Pakistan, or Bangladesh. 100%. This is your life. If you're single and your sibling chooses to dump her shit on you, yeah. So that's life here in Pakistan for you. You are literally going to be dragged back to Pakistan, even if you're abroad. And if you happen to unfortunately be single, unfortunately for you at this point, because you thought you were going to actually live your life in peace because you're single, You actually thought you were going to have a life now because you're single and you're an adult and you're finally getting to work hard to reach those goals. But your parents think that your life is not important and your goals are not important because guess what? Your sister or your brother, who are now saddled with their kids after a divorce and here at home in the family home, they are the priority and they have liabilities. And people who have liabilities, they come first. And they have a life, actually. You only have a life if you have liabilities that you're saddled with. Yes, otherwise you don't have a life to call your own. No, you have no right to call that life a life. And you don't have a right to live your life if you're single. That is the take of the people here in the subcontinent. If you're single, you have no right to have a life of your own. And God damn it, if you're a single woman, then it's a it's a big no. You're single and you're a woman? How dare you have a life of your own? No. Your divorced sister, now she needs to have a life because the poor thing is saddled with kids and she's a single mother now and she has so many priorities and so many liabilities. That is a life. So she needs to move on and get some progress in her life. You don't need anything. You're single. What do you need? You don't need anything in life. You don't have a life. Come here. And so you actually had a life, but now you don't have a life. That is the story of every single unmarried adult in Pakistan, regardless of the gender. But especially if you're female, you're fucked. Your own parents fuck you, by the way. Yeah. So, yeah, here it is. There's always one person in the family that has to take care of the consequences of everybody else enjoying themselves. And that is not always the parent, no. In fact, most of the time, the parents are amongst those who are busy enjoying themselves, while that one family member is left to pick up the shit. It's as if we've signed a contract that we didn't know. You know, God basically deceived us before he sent us into this world. He was like, yeah, come here, I need your thumbprint, here, right here, good girl, good boy, okay, off you go. You're fucked. Because I wrote it down like that. That's God for you, by the way. So here you are. You didn't know that you actually picked up and won the tender. Yeah, you won the contract of taking care of other people's shit at your expense. It is taking care of other people's shit when you're always the one pushing your life at the back in order to accommodate other people's wants, needs, wishes, temptations, and dreams and goals. And that is why, and the fun part is that you're actually treated as if you've committed a grave sin if you say, no, it's not my job, it's not my shit, it's yours, you take care of it. Yeah. So for people like me who spend our whole lives taking care of other people's shit, small or big, family or friends, acquaintances even, we tend to bring out the cray-cray out of people. I've noticed that. A very normal person would suddenly bring out he's crazy in front of me. I don't know why. I seem to attract the inner crazy of people. And it's probably because of the fact that I never judged or said anything. So I've decided I should start judging. And I should especially start saying very brutal things to people, So, for example, I actually ask people when they come to me and cling to me and say that they, I'm like, sorry, did I sign a contract? Did I sign a contract that I am supposed to be your keeper? Where is it written that it has to be me? I actually now start saying that to people. I have said that to quite a number of people, especially those who have a very bad habit of always coming to me when they have some problems, small or big. Because guess what? I have problems too, but I have nobody to go to for my problems. I have always dealt with my problems on my own. And so on top of that, when I have to deal with other people's problems, there's only so much that you can take, For example, why is it suddenly my job to help you with your marital problems? Like, hello, I'm not even married in the first place. And yes, even despite all that fact, yes, I actually do know much better about marriage and about responsibility and about life and about, what being a mother really is or what being a father really is. Yes, obviously, anybody with a common sense would know. But guess what? You're the one in it. You live it. It's your shit, And why do you think that I'm actually going to tell you whether you should stay married or not, or what it is that your problem is with your spouse? Like, are you serious? It's not my business. I don't want any part in it. So, yeah, people bring a lot of cray cray in front of me. They're weird ass cray cray, from the smallest to the biggest. So I've become a little cray cray now in front of people. I get a little OCD in front of people. I'm like, yeah, yeah, you have to, yeah. Or actually, most of the time, what I actually do is I disappear. I stay in my room, I close my door, and I do not talk to anybody. Yeah. Although, unfortunately, I still have the etiquette that I should always answer messages and answer my phone when it rings. This is an etiquette, by the way, that most people do not have. Again, here in the subcontinent. Maybe it's a global thing now, I don't know, but it's always been something in the subcontinent where people just do not know how to answer you. They do not know how to reply to a message. And they do not even know how to pick up calls at times. This is a Pakistani attitude thing, which I'm sure maybe even in India and Bangladesh they face it. Thankfully, more and more people, I guess after getting verbally smacked about being so rude like this, especially when you're dealing with other people from other, who have nothing to do with you and who are strangers, or people from different countries also who observe this etiquette where, yeah, excuse me, if you've emailed somebody, you need a reply, If you've texted somebody, you need a reply. So yeah, so thankfully I've seen more and more responsible attitude now because people have felt it. As I said, people like to dish it, but they don't like to take it, right? So I guess many people now have been dished this. So now people are getting more and more conscious about the fact that, okay, have the manners to respond. It's not a Gen Z thing, by the way, this not having manners, by the way. I know people like to always say, oh, it's not a Gen Z thing. I'm telling you because I have seen this attitude for decades, since the first mobile came and people were so excited to use the mobile. Even then, yes, even then there were those a-holes who never replied to emails and who didn't reply to text messages. And there were a lot of those a-holes who, even if they picked up the phone when they were talking with you, would keep on talking to somebody else on the other side, while putting you on an indefinite hold in between, because you don't know when they're suddenly going to turn and talk to you, and you don't know if they're actually talking to you or they're still talking to the other person on their side. And a person like me would say, you know what, finish whatever it is that you're doing and then come back to me. So these are the kind of weird ass shit that people have been doing. This is this attitude thing that you get with desis. But I think actually now people probably have learned their manners, after going through the same thing themselves. But yeah, this is what the world comes to now. As I said, I prefer life to be simple, and I think very, very long term. And so I never thought of it as a good idea to invest in the solar system in Pakistan. And the points that I made at that time was that although, as I said, I have myself been dabbling with the whole idea of solar system for like almost 3 decades. No, that's not the issue. The issue is Pakistan. As I said that time that, okay, now we have Imran Khan. But first of all, Imran Khan is still not exactly, it's not his government in the sense that they have still stolen the 2/3 majority that he should be enjoying from him, which means your bureaucracy is shit as it is, which means they're already trying to sabotage this government, which means What guarantees do you have that all the subsidies and all the, all the positives that Imran Khan is offering to his people now, while encouraging them to set up solar systems in their homes, what is the guarantee that you are actually going to, that is actually worth the investment? Okay, put it that way. Because to me, very frankly, I have never thought of Pakistan as a place worth investing in. And I think now the reasons are very obvious. These are the reasons I've been mentioning many times before. The main thing being that you know that your bureaucracy is corrupt. You know that your whole system is corrupt. Why would you want to risk all that hard-earned money and invest it in a country that will not give you any reward or return of said invested money? It can be investing in a business, it can be investing in having a solar system at home, it can be because you're investing with the government. Essentially, when you're investing in a hybrid system, which is what most people were encouraged to do in Imran Khan's time, so that then the government could buy electricity from us and then return us in terms of unit, pay us back. In other words, pay us for the electricity in terms of units, in which we got lower rates, and sometimes, in fact, to the point where we got no bills at all and we were getting credit. I think anybody and everybody who has a hybrid system knows what I'm saying, because Australia is doing it and other countries are doing it. I think India also does it. Governments do that. But again, this is Pakistan. Who's going to guarantee? And as you can see, as soon as this new illegal government came, what did they do with all of us who have solar? How are they stealing from us? How much are they paying us in return? How much are they forcing us to still pay, as they keep on increasing the per unit charge, so that we should pay for all those non-existent private power generating and supplying companies that are not generating or supplying any power? This is something that I predicted when Imran Khan had just come. Again, not because, no, it's very simple. When you look at the history of a society and a country, you just know. Pakistan to me was never a country in which I would ever invest in my future. And I rest my case, because you can see it already yourselves. There are no jobs. There is no real income source. You don't think that, honestly speaking, that social media and TikTok and being influencers are going to be now your only source of income? Seriously, that is not a viable income. It is only viable in the sense that you're not spending money to make money, so it's no risk and high reward, actually. But practically speaking, it's not a good idea, to think of it as an investment or in your future. It was once upon a time, but everything dies, and as you can see, social media is dying in that way as well. Same reason, when people said, oh, why don't you have a YouTube channel? Why don't you do a PR on your YouTube channel and spread the word and try to get what a blah blah, and then go to, and I was like, no, I don't think it's worth it in the long run, And here we are today. YouTube, it is working with your government to censor your posts, your content, to shadow ban you, to get you away from the algorithm. Metaverse, stealing your private information, and then also censoring your content, working with your government, getting everything on surveillance, just like YouTube, shadow banning you for your content again. So tell me, this is how I think long term. I have to think about something that is actually sustainable if I want to waste time in it, because I am the kind of person, when I put my efforts and time in something, I do it completely and I have to see the end. So if I calculate the pros and the cons and the long term, and I see that it's just not worth it, For example, you don't get followers overnight. Okay, let's even take YouTube. You don't get followers overnight, especially if you're doing the organic growth. You're not buying them. That is actually another thing, that on social media people used to literally buy their followers, right? There are many ways to buy followers, as you all know. And you can even buy existing accounts that have high following, and take over. So there are all these ways. But if you're organically growing a loyal community, it takes years. And in that case, 10 years ago even was the right time to start, or a good time to start, when YouTube was still not even in where it is today, where everybody wants to use YouTube as a source of income, or TikTok, or yeah, TikTok, YouTube, and all. So as you see, YouTube is already dying, and it was TikTok that kind of, but now TikTok too, by the way, is going to die. It's death, and you will see, because as I said, when you make the internet nothing but a constant source of PR, marketing, ads, and it's no more that organic thing that it used to be. The internet used to be a very raw, very organic place to be. It used to be a place where introverts, ambiverts, nerds, gamers, all those people, all those unique people, they would go there and they would freely be themselves. But as I said many podcasts ago, a few years ago, I think, the internet has actually become, or was it last year? Sorry. The internet has become a place where the same people that you were actually running away from in real life, the same shallow, hypocritical, superficial people, the blondes and the, I mean, in American terms, it was the blonde cheerleaders and the athletes, of your school. You were trying to basically get away from all of them and all their hoity-toity, their fancy, artificial, shallow little bubble of a world, and you went in and found real people, real invisible people, a loyal community of friends on the internet, only now to have those same people come and corrupt the internet. That's basically what happened. So those same people with their shallow thoughts and their shallow ideas and their shallow superficiality and their whole, weird ass sort of a PR stunt sort of a lifestyle, they brought it all here on the internet and they corrupted the whole internet. So internet became nothing but a marketing tool. Again, thanks to Apple, I guess. People say it's Apple that really started all that, but okay. When it put the internet on the palm of everybody's hands, okay. But no, not necessarily, because when the internet came on the palm of everybody's hands in the beginning, that is when people again showed their own raw individual selves, and they celebrated their styles and themselves, and everybody was different and unique, and that is why people started looking at them, why people started scrolling, because you wanted to see something different. The reason now we're constantly scrolling is not because the millennials or the boomers or the Gen Zs have got addicted to the phone or something. No, it's because we're jet lagged. We're completely, we're not getting it anymore. The thrill of scrolling down to something completely different, something completely unique, again, something completely individual, something, a variety. There was a variety because those people were real. Everything about them was different, but it was real. So you had variety, you had that realness, you had that rawness, and that is no longer there. So now you're literally scrolling through a bunch of the same things and you're thinking 2 hours have passed and that is all, that is literally, is that all the internet now has to offer me? Seriously? That is what is going on. Obviously the Gen Zs, who are, or the easily influenced sheep in the world, obviously for them it's a different story maybe, but generally unconsciously, what is going on is that people are constantly mindlessly scrolling because they're not getting it. They're not getting what they want, what their mind is looking for. You're scrolling to look for something new and different, and you're not getting it because it's all much of the same. That's what's happening. So, as I said, simple life. which has become too much to ask for. I like things to be simple. I do not like unnecessary tensions and stresses, because necessary tensions and stresses are already part of our lives, and we need them actually to move on with our lives. These unnecessary tensions and stresses are not needed. And if people want to do what they want to do, as I said, go ahead. You want to get married, go ahead. You want to get a divorce, go ahead. You want to have children, go ahead. You don't want to, don't. Please don't, in fact. You want to fulfill your little happinesses. You want to put a solar system. You want to do this. You want to do that. You want to do whatever you want to. But then don't leave me to take care of the aftermath, is what I'm saying. Leave me alone. Because I'm too tired now. My brain cells are dying. They're rotting already. Because my whole life is what all that I've actually, when I look back and when I look at my whole life, I'm thinking I really did nothing. Because every single time I was about to do something, or every single time I began something, I was made to leave it because, oh, you're needed by so and so. Oh, so and so did this and got this, and now we have this. Oh, we're a family. Oh, we're friends. Oh, we're acquaintances. Oh, we're colleagues. Like, seriously, can you just leave me the frack alone? The reason even why I left this country even twice, was I wanted to go to a place where I should meet people I do not know. But unfortunately, it seems there's not a place in this world where our people aren't scattered. So you end up at places where there are people from your own country and you cannot avoid them. And then there are people who you know. And so you really cannot avoid them. And that is the story of your life. You spend your whole life taking care of other people's shit. Your life's at the back burner. And then at the end of the day, you have no life. Why? Because, you see, your life was designed by those people around you to have no life. And that is the bitter truth. So, as I said, for me, even these things are now getting more and more irritating, more and more cumbersome. For example, again, I did not choose to put the solar system. Why do I have to deal with all its problems? If it was up to me, if it was really up to me, I would rather live with the load shedding, hours and hours of load shedding, than having this unnecessary sleepless inducing stress of a system that keeps wreaking havoc every few months, be it small or be it big. As I said, I dread the day when I have a visit from Sky Electric engineers, because it's such a tedious day. Because when I have to do something, as you know, again, I'm already an insomniac, thank you very much, and now when I have to get something done, I will not sleep. So that if I sleep and I don't wake up, or if something happens, I have to be hyper alert, I'm vigilant, I'm awake. It's not even my job. Again, I'm not the one who put the damn thing. Why am I the one who has to take care of the damn thing? That's my problem. I'm not the one who told you to get married. Why the hell do I have to babysit your kids while I actually leave a different country in which I was living and making my life? Thank you very much. I was made to leave my job. I was made to leave once I was even made to leave my studies. I was made to leave my job. I was made to leave all my hard work that I was working towards a goal that I had set in life, to come back and take care of your problems that you created yourself. I believe that if you think that you can make decisions for yourself, then it means that you can deal with the consequences yourself. Why does the whole freaking world have to deal with your consequences? That's what I want to know. And the reason why I have every right to say that is because I have been dealing with other people's decisions, consequences. Other people's decisions that are ruining different aspects of my life. For example, other people's decisions that has made me now a caretaker of a solar system that I really would wish to burn now. and then other people's decisions that cost me my job, and other people's decisions that cost me my degree, and other people's decisions that cost me my choice of living, as in choice of country, as well as my actual choice of living. So other people are making the decisions, so why am I bearing the brunt of it? That is my biggest rant of all rants that I have had throughout the 5 years of my podcasting, because it all goes back to that, right? I'm growing older. The older I'm growing, the less endurance I have for human stupidity, the less empathy I have for human obtuseness, the less sympathy I have for human idiocy. I just want to be left the frack alone. Apparently, that is too much to ask. Yes, wanting a simple life and to be left alone. For people to take care of their own shit. Again, you see, as I said, the individual traits give you a very good view of what you can expect from the country. And this is, again, the way the society is woven. That is why I know there is no future in Pakistan, and that is why I always knew that this was not where I'm supposed to live and where I could get any of my goals fulfilled. And that is why I believe that this is not a place where I should waste my time, my energy, or my money. This is not a place worth investing in. Why? Just look at it. Now, Nepal. Let's look at Nepal. Although people are saying, oh, Gen Z of Nepal have revolted against their government, because the government tried to ban social media. But actually, the true story is that I think a girl got hurt or something, and the government, one of the ministers or the prime minister, they made a remark. They made a very stupid, apathetic remark or something, and that enraged the people. And then they came out, and then when the police came and started doing the same thing that our police came and did to our people, when we came out and protested. So then, and then the government obviously was also doing the same thing our government was doing, that is, and what Indonesia's government was doing, and that was, giving perks, I think, increasing the salary of government officials or something, the bureaucracy. And then add to that, they said, oh, because the people are protesting and things are going viral on social media regarding the girl, I think. So they were like, okay, let's just ban. Although actually the government was saying that the reason why they wanted to ban the social media was not because of that, but it was because, according to them, Metaverse and the other social media's sites or platforms like X, they hadn't registered. Yeah, they hadn't registered themselves with the country or with the government, and that is why the government decided that they would rather ban them, which could probably be very, very true. And I'll tell you why again. As I said, understand that if there is no smoke without fire, and obviously the people were already very agitated. I guess we kind of I don't know. I think we were under this illusion that the Nepalese government, was a good government, and that people were happy, but apparently they weren't, because it took only this much to ignite a fire. That the people came out and then they burnt the parliaments, as you know, and then they even went and beat up the ministers and I think even the prime minister, and they beat up maybe the wife of one of them, and I don't know, somebody, according to Samina Pasha, one of them's wives actually got killed in the fire that was set to the home, but that she's the only one I heard this news from, by the way, so I don't know. Yeah. So the point is, every single thing that I said that Pakistanis should do, these are look at all my podcasts for the past 2 years. Every single one of them, I said, go surround the offices, surround the parliament, burn it down, go to their homes, drag them out, draw and quarter them. I've been saying this for like 2 years, more than 2 years now, right? Every single thing that I said that the people of Pakistan should do literally was being done right in front of us by the Nepali Gen Z. And they're saying Gen Z because they're actually young. They're young teens, they're in their mid-teens and in their early teens. They're practically teenagers, okay? So they're kids who are revolting. But again, now here's where I would say, even though this is all true and there was probably a reason and all, the fact that it was so easy to ignite them is also fine. But the fact that it was so easy for them to finally realize that revolution to the point where they were beaten up, but they came back. That is all that I mean that part is 100% kudos to the kids. They showed their bravery, unlike our, what should I call them, morons. They showed their bravery. They got beaten, they got back up. In fact, even more people joined. Again, it's like Bangladesh, when the students got beaten, they got back up and more people joined. So here they were literally shot, some were killed, and there were people, there were boys and girls who literally just got emergency treatment. They got their bandages up, and then they came back rallying against the government. That made more and more people come out. Kudos to them, everything's fine. But again, there is no doubt that it serves Indian and American interests that this government be dislodged. Again, why? China. Yes. Remember, I told you, China is the end goal here. The reason why Pakistan is constantly being raped by America is ultimately China. You need Pakistan so that you can control, you can easily have the upper hand. You can have a leverage against your enemy, China, Russia, Iran. Only from Pakistan can you actually have that leverage, right? On the other side, if you help India gain some leverage and use India to remove any pro-Chinese supporters in the region, then that would be, just cherry on top. So Nepal was that cherry on top, by the way. Yeah, I know that the Gen Z and the people and all, they were working against they were fighting basically against corruption. They were fighting against the elite lifestyle versus the normal people's, the disparity that had become too large, which you can see in our own country again. And again, you will say, why the frack is in Pakistan then? Because Pakistan is right now at an even more advanced stage than Bangladesh ever was or than Nepal ever was. We are more than ripe for the picking. So why the frack aren't we doing it all? I'll tell you, it's again the same thing. Number one, shamelessness. It is shamelessness. We have been indulging these traitors for almost 70 years. This is our shamelessness that has now become part of our blood. Corruption. Corruption is not just up there in the elite. It has become a way of life. It has become a part of life. People are corrupt and people are looking for their own personal self-gain. Okay? People are still looking after numero uno. Okay? Number 3, are people, they think that they're bloody nawabs. They're those kind of people, which I've said even before, that they actually are those kind of people who say, oh, think for me, do for me, eat for me, study for me, take the exam for me, drink water for me, go bathe for me, 100% spoon fed. They don't want to even move their ass up from their haunches, simply because they feel it would be much better if somebody did all the dirty work for them and they would just have the food ready to eat. They're waiting for their Messiah. The Messiah came. He's right now in jail. What are you going to do now? It was, as I said, a surprise for me. It was a surprise, a pleasant surprise, but a surprise nonetheless. When people came out in the streets leaderless after Imran Khan was ousted, and then again when he was jailed. And again, I blame Imran Khan for breaking that momentum. For once, the people of Pakistan got it right. You just had to go and stop them. And now look, the momentum is so broken, and that many times people rose. Many times the government, the army, the police came and beat the shit out of them. In Islamabad, remember, they shot people dead, and they shot people injured. Remember what they did to the people of Punjab, throughout Punjab, in Lahore especially. What did they do to the people? How many people did they kidnap? How many people did they torture? How many people whose family members they kidnapped and tortured? How many people whose children they kidnapped? How many people... I mean, you get the gist. How many people they illegally detained? How many people whose homes They invaded in broad daylight and even in the middle of the night, the police, yes, and stole from them. And there was a wedding going on. Remember, they stole the bride's things. So, yeah, you see, again, our people kept on breaking that momentum. That momentum once broken, and you keep on breaking it. No, our people should not have stopped every single time these things happened, only to regroup a few days later and start again. No, they should have done what the Bangladeshis did, what the Indonesians did, what the people here in Nepal did. But again, I would say, remember, when it comes to Nepal, when it comes to Hong Kong, it is a tricky situation, because this is where you very, very obviously see that there is a support offered. There is a support of a foreign entity that is making it easy for them to gain what they've gained, to achieve that goal. The reason why, and again I'll say, look at Pakistan. You're saying we're not doing anything. How many times did we stand and protest? How many times did we break the momentum? Because we have traitors. We have traitors in our midst, and that is the PTI's own leaders, so-called self-claimed, self-alleged leaders. There is no leader in PTI except for Imran Khan, and that's a fact, okay? All of you people who think that you're leaders in PTI, you just lost everybody's trust because of the way you made a joke out of all those protests. Every single time when people got injured and killed, they came forward again with exactly the same way as the kids in Nepal did, by the way, in case you forgot. The people came back, bandaged and all, and they came back. And what did you, the PTI leaders, do? You broke the momentum. In Islamabad, when people got killed, many people even brought their bodies there and said, okay, let's protest with their dead bodies and with the injured people right in front of us, right? What did you people do? You broke the momentum. So you have traitors working both within and outside of your country. Why? Because you do not serve the American interest. You're going against the American interest. You're going against the Western interest. And that is why, till date, the people of Pakistan haven't been able to get there, where, very surprisingly, the people of Nepal and the people of Indonesia got in a matter of days. You need to understand that. Again, as I said, that doesn't make what they're doing wrong. No, but they don't know that they are also serving their enemy's interests. Yes, because Nepal's enemy is India. India is no friend of Nepal's. They do not realize that they are serving American interests in the whole process, and they're serving India's interests, which means once again India can interfere and place upon Nepal a government that it wants, which it has done in the past, which is why there's enmity between Nepal and India. You understand? Every time Nepal had a problem with their governments, it was usually those governments that India supported, India backed, India financed, and India helped keep that governance. So right now, the people of Nepal, although, as I said, kudos to them for fighting against corruption and the elite lifestyle and disparity, every single thing that Pakistan is going through, kudos to the people of Indonesia for, again, surging forward. But notice the quick succession is what I'm saying. Always note the way a revolt begins, and if it ends successfully, how quickly it ends successfully. It's not like Pakistan, where, you remember, it took us 20 years to get Imran Khan there. 20 years it took Imran Khan to struggle, and then it took him 20 years to wait for us, our generation, so that we would be old enough to vote for him. And this overwhelming change where the government, although it managed to rig and take away his 2/3 majority, but they still couldn't take away his prime ministership from him. They couldn't take away the government from him. It was his government because of us, who he was waiting for. Us combined with the generation before us, putting our votes together, the overwhelming majority of votes, which was never seen in the history of Pakistan before that. And it could only be seen after that again, when, while he was in jail, recently we again voted. Overwhelmingly again. So that is how the difference is made. So despite all of that, again, Pakistan didn't achieve its goals, right? Imran Khan is still in jail. The government that we're trying to overthrow is still solidly in place. Why? Because there is nobody whose interests we are serving. We are going against American interests, we're going against European interests, British precisely, and we're going against Indian interests. So there is nobody here whose interest we're serving by going against our government and our army. This is why we haven't succeeded. Although the fact that we're shameless and we're a-holes is also there, we're selfish morons, it is there, we're beghairat and all, it is there. That is all there. But also there is this major thing. We have traitors within the PTI who are working, collaborating with the government to undermine our revolt. And then obviously we have no support from those whose support actually helps a revolt get successful. So actually, we would be credited to be probably the only country in the recent history to have had a successful, completely unbiased, objective revolt with no third parties' involvement, if we succeed ever to get that revolt out there, and if we succeed in the revolution, and if we succeed in ousting this government, and if we succeed in our goals of getting Imran Khan back up there. Understand this. We would be the only country to have successfully revolted without any third party interference. And that is a good thing, actually. That's a very good thing. But the problem is, we are not doing it the way we should be doing it. We need to tell the traitors and the PTI leadership to get the frack out of here. We need to not wait for them to give calls. We need to go leaderless the way we did when Imran Khan was ousted. That is what we need to do. And this time, we shouldn't allow anybody to control us or to tell us to stop or to disturb our momentum. That is the point. Once again, as I said, right now, even as we speak, we are right now completely ripe, because again, you've got Balochistan there, you've got KPK there, you've got Kashmir, you've got Gilgit-Baltistan. They're all right now, especially Balochistan, is literally already revolting and has been doing so for a while. Punjabis are being flooded and they're pissed off because they know it's man-made, right? The actual harm that is done due to this excessive and seemingly, whatever. But point is, it's a man-made flood, okay? So Punjab right now is boiling. Balochistan is burning. KPK is on the brinks already. Kashmir, Baltistan are already on the brinks too. What the frack are we waiting for again? What are we waiting for? That's the point. So, but as I said, again, the reason why there is no momentum is because we don't have a third party involved supporting us from behind, which Hong Kong does have every time they come up against their government, because that serves American interest, because it goes anti-China. Okay? Indonesia has. Again, despite the fact that the Indonesian government was actually not pro-China, but the fact that it is one of the most stable governments in the region that has the highest Muslim majority in the world is a threat in itself to them. So it serves their interest that it should be unstable for now at least. Okay? So what is next? Nepal. That has also served their interest. So this is why these countries have very quick success rates. And this is how you know when there is an invisible hand at play. Okay? And in Pakistan, there is no invisible hand at play in favor of the revolt, but there are many invisible hands at play against the revolt. That is why Pakistan, despite everything, hasn't yet got it. And this is me signing out. Khuda Hafiz.